It's time for another segment of Mr. and Mrs. Medicare, saving seniors from a high cost of healthcare, debunking Medicare, making Medicare easy to understand for all seniors. All guests of any of the Medicare segments receive a free ebook written by your MedicareLady.com. Here are your hosts, Paul and Sarah Finkelstein.
And if you are interested in that free ebook, you can get it by emailing wow@omgtalk.com. That's wow@omgtalk.com. Email it right there. Put in the subject line free Medicare ebook, and it's completely yours, absolutely for free. Here's one more announcement by Tony of TRC Voiceovers, a real voiceover guy. If you don't want AI for your voiceovers, he's a real authentic guy named Tony. Check it out.
You have been listening to the OMG podcast with Paul Finkelstein. We can help you build wealth without hogging your time. Schedule a one-on-one with us. Thanks for listening. Join us again for another OMG podcast segment.
Thanks so much, Tony. And here's a little introduction for Paul Finkelstein. Are you allowed to introduce yourself? So Paul Finkelstein is a very popular name. And there's over 50 different people with the same name, Paul Finkelstein, on LinkedIn. The same exact first name, same exact last name, Paul Finkelstein. But this Paul Finkelstein, who you're looking at right now, doesn't like to stay in the lines. He likes to think bigger. Is that like yourself? Do we have already some things we're more alike than we are different? Unless you are okay with the status quo, mediocrity, mediocre, boredom, never getting a raise from your job or business or portfolio or investments or 401k, or your businesses, the revenue, etc. You're not interested in that gaining anything as well. Then you're definitely not going to be interested in this talk or entrepreneurship. So if you want to listen to the first 5 minutes, fine. But who are you kidding yourself? It's not your cup of tea. But if you would like to explore some new concepts, check out this talk for 5 minutes, and then you can save the rest for later. It's the max is 5 to 20 minutes. Paul Finkelstein, dream big, Paul Finkelstein. I just made myself just a little bit bigger because, if you're going to think big, you might as well be a little bit bigger than this. I mean, you got to be bigger than that, right? So this is where we go. Why I'm just keeping that don't be Bruce there. It's just a subliminal message because there are people out there that are doing my friend Bruce's mistake. And he did that when he was dating. On the first date, he proposed to who he wanted to be his wife. He said, she's beautiful, like love at first sight. But when you go on a first date, you don't know what you don't know. And it's the same thing in business. So in business, there are so many business people that have not had any kind of formal training. I mean, what business person had formal business training? And if you had some, I'd love to hear where you've had your formal business training. Is it in college? Is it in high school? Is it Hard Knocks? Is it at Dale Carnegie? Is it Napoleon Hill? Is it Think and Go Rich? Did you read a particular book as well? Let's find out if we have anything else in common beside the fact that we love to think bigger. Also, maybe we also have a personal story where we actually did not do what Bruce did and not propose on the first date. I actually had a formula, a 3-step formula that I think businesses should use every day. And that 3-step formula, check this out, is number one, people could be a client who you're meeting in front of, but not necessarily, right? So number two, they could be a friend. And because they could just be a kind person, right? And it's great to have some friends in life to go through life with. And then the third thing is they could be a resource, because if you need a plumber, they had a good experience with a plumber, you want to be able to call that friend back and say, hey, I want to use that plumber because they were kind as well and professional and knew what they were doing. So that's the story about don't be Bruce. All right. I'll remove that from the screen as well. How many people here, by a show of hands, you could put into the chat if you've ever mowed the lawn? It doesn't have to be guys. I know that my sister on occasion did mow the lawn, I think at least once growing up, and maybe even help me do the neighbor's lawn. But Maybe it was during the honeymoon phase when the first 2 weeks where mowing the lawn was exciting. You got this new piece of equipment. And then after 2 weeks, the honeymoon phase wears off. And then you're like, oh, it's just another chore like taking out the garbage. By the way, is it garbage day where you are? I got to remember to take in that can as well. Did you take in your garbage can today? So don't forget to take in your garbage can if it's garbage day where you are. How many? So in the comments, I don't see a whole lot of comments today of those people that are lawn mowers for their household. But I know you might be listening to this and you're in the Northeast and it's not time to mow the lawn because you now have this other device called a snow blower. I also wanted to put up on the screen a picture of myself that I'll talk about later when my mom threw me a 13th birthday party and had a DJ there, and interesting story that came about from that. So I thought I'd share that and tie that in with a book that I love to read. So how many people here by show of hands in the wintertime up north, you were living there and so maybe it was collecting dust and it was just time to actually do the driveway and you had a snow blower that was collecting dust, but you also had some shovels. So you had a choice between using the shovel or using the snow blower. And if you wanted to get done fast, it might be better to use the snow blower. Of course, it could be a heavy piece of equipment, but they usually run automatic. You just flip a lever and you just have to guide it up and down and turn around the snout, if you will, where the snow blows to one side of your driveway or the other side of the driveway. Just make sure there are no kids on the other side of the driveway, or is it just lawn that you're mowing it to? So if you mowed the lawn or use a snow blower in the wintertime, raise your hand or put something in the comments to hear about all those people that use snow blowers or in the wintertime as well. Anybody ever work in the kitchen of a restaurant? If you've worked in a kitchen and restaurant, those are my beginnings. A kitchen and restaurant, a snow blower, or a lawn mower. Did you get paid when you were working in the kitchen? How young did you start working in the kitchen? Was it 16 or 17 like myself, working in the kitchen of a restaurant, and they paid me in one of my favorite entrees, which was a veal parmesan? Was that your favorite dish? Are you Italian eaters, or do you prefer eating at home and just having whatever your favorite entree is? Or what is your favorite entree? Do you make tuna fish, peanut butter and jellies, or are you eating a ham sandwich? But here's a question I'd like to start off with, that millions of people want to have their own business, but many people do not. They chicken out. And there's several reasons that we'll discuss a little bit later. So if you have to go, we did pass the 5-minute mark. I should go to about 25 or 30 today. It'll be saved also where you're listening to this as well. But why dream big? And I wanted to talk about a story that picture you see at the bottom of the screen right over here is me when I was 13. My mom threw me a birthday party when I was 13. The DJ was there. All the kids were on one side of the dance floor, and the DJ said, Red Rover. Red Rover said, Johnny over. Johnny came, and Johnny was all of the kids that lined up on one side of the dance floor, and they ran to the other side of the dance floor, and that was me running. I ran to the side of the dance floor, landed right on my mom's lap on my 13th birthday. And then the photographer said, hey, that's a great picture. I'll take it. And it is a wonderful picture, a wonderful memory of my mom. But picture that game with compiled with the book, Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Have you heard of the book, Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant? And he talks about 4 ways of making money. And 2 of the ways are being self-employed or being an employee. Many people are employees. Most of the workers in our country are employees. Maybe around the world, most people just are employees or self-employed. That comes with a lot of different risks, a lot of different challenges to be a business owner. But a self-employed person is a business owner, but not the same kind of business owner as the guy on the side of the quadrant, which is a business owner or an investor. So I picture that DJ saying, Red Rover, send Johnny over. And I'm picturing the employee and the self-employed person running across, not necessarily at 13 years old, but maybe it could be running across the dance floor and daring to go onto the other side of the quadrant, which is an investor or a business owner. So raise your hand if you had that inkling to want to be on the other side of the quadrant, the business owner or an investor, but don't have a clue how to get there, don't have a vehicle to get there, don't have a business idea to get there, and you're looking for something. So that's not something I'm talking about here in this talk, but I do have a couple of optional plans that I'd love to chat with you about that maybe might fit. Well, it doesn't matter what age too. You could be 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 20, whatever the age. I have something for you as well. But I wanted to talk about, we'll switch gears and talk about, for amateur entrepreneurs or beginning entrepreneurs, or maybe seasoned entrepreneurs, do you still have these 6 curse words that amateur entrepreneurs stumble with or are challenged with every day? One is mediocrity. It's always great to go back to what you were doing because it was less risk, perhaps, or less work, perhaps. We tend to want to go to the path of least resistance. So mediocrity is the first of 6 curse words that I think amateur entrepreneurs struggle with. That's one of their number one challenges. Mediocrity, your comfort zone. Life and success happens outside your comfort zone. But as soon as you get outside that comfort zone, it gets uncomfortable, right? So mediocrity, and I'll just use one sound effect that I actually like to describe mediocrity, and that's is this some old guy sleeping, some young guy sleeping. It doesn't have to be old. It could be young too, because how many people here actually love to run or train for marathons or biking or swimming? And many people, they love to sit on the couch and take the remote. And I never had a couch that the feet went up. Anybody here have a couch where the feet goes up? I guess the patented term might be a lazy boy. But how many people spend a lot of mornings or evenings on that lazy boy type of a couch? Man, where was that couch? We replaced our couch with one of those, and it is so darn comfortable. Once you get in that thing, it's hard to get off of that thing, right? So mediocrity. Tired. Now, tired usually falls around with another word called sick. We'll talk about tired and its relationship with the word sick. But when I think of tired, the one sound effect I like to talk about is, you could write Z, 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 Z in your text. And so that's the term for tired. That's a sound effect. And then the word comfortable, an amateur entrepreneur curse word is comfortable. You'd prefer to be comfortable, but getting uncomfortable might be where the success lies. Procrastination, I'll just use one sound effect for that in interest of time, and that's, I won't do it tomorrow. I won't do it today either. Okay, so then there's 2 other words that are kind of the same meaning, or they are the same meaning, and they're curse words for amateur entrepreneurs, not real curse words, so don't worry about that. And that's work or effort. My wife would prefer me not to use any curse words, so I got to keep them to myself, and also the Almighty as well. So work and effort. So I talked about 6 curse words, or mediocrity, tired, comfortable, procrastination, work, and effort. Let's go digress and talk more about that guy, Johnny. Johnny represents every employee or self-employed person that gets enough guts to go across the dance floor like I did on my 13th birthday, that you see pictured there on the screen as well, where it says 365 speeches, 365 days. The number of speeches there is this particular talk. This 365 speeches is this talk being given 365 days in the next 365 days. But why dream big? Maybe perhaps your dream is to go on all of the beaches of the world in the winters, where the sun spends the winter on the beaches of the world. Or maybe you have a dream to go traveling and visit the Parthenon, like my wife and I did on our honeymoon many years ago. Or there's other trips that you've taken along the way after you've gotten married. But if you're thinking today that your job is sexy, is your job sexy? You're saying to yourself in front of the mirror, my job is so sexy. I love my job. I love my job. Why dream big? Why don't I need or want a big raise from my job. I'm happy with making exactly what I'm making. Don't people always want a raise from their job? They want to make more money per hour. They want to make more money per year. Why do they want this? They want to go on vacations. They want to just cover their bills and cover their rent. They want to buy a house of their own. So I make good money. I don't need any more money. I make really good money. What's good money? Because I know that statistically, most people, they're on that employee side, the self-employed side. Johnny hasn't sent them over to the business owner side or the investor side, and they have some fears. But did you know that you're surrounded by millions of people that settled for something less? Millions of people had settled for something less. If that's you, let's talk later. Let's keep in touch. Comment in the chat, if you will, or the comments, if it's on YouTube or my Facebook page or my Facebook profile. Or send me a text and say, why dream big, to 561-302-0051. That's send me a text, why dream big, at 561-302-0051. Did you know that 95% of your peers, by the time they get to 65, are dead, disabled, or broke? It's a known statistic. I'm not making this stuff up. I wish I was. 4% are financially okay, and 1% is rich. Why is that? People are living paycheck to paycheck. I do teach people how to do that. But let's talk about the definition of success. One of my favorite definitions of success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. But success looks different in the eyes of a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old, an 80-year-old, a 90-year-old, a 100-year-old, a 110-year-old, 120-year-old, 130-year-old, 140-year-old, 150, or this guy's going all the way. The sky's the limit, right? Stay healthy, guys. But if you have a piece of paper in front of you, draw a circle on it. Here's my circle. I've drawn it on there as well. If you could draw a circle, I don't care how big you do it, but hey, I'm going to ask you, how big is the circle you drew? And inside that circle, put an S in 2 vertical lines. That's a $sign. And that circle represents what? That circle represents your income circle. It's a circle. It's the maximum amount of income you will ever make for the rest of your life. How do you feel about that? Would you like to upsize your house? Would you like to have an extra bedroom? Would you like to have an extra gym in your house? Would you like to have a theater room in your house? Would you like to have a bigger backyard? Whatever your dreams are, you're allowed to dream. I give you permission to dream big. I give you permission to dream big. Now take a circle and put it around your income circle. That's called your dream circle. That's the part that's missing from most people. I know it's missing from most people because most people are living paycheck to paycheck. They are also mistaking their dreams for, if there's no retirement account because they spent all their money on some luxuries, and you think that you have your dreams, but you have no emergency money, and you can't get away from work, then you probably don't have a dream circle. But have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant? And we're going to bring up that again, and which is employee on the left side, self-employed on the left side, business owner on the right side, investor on the right side. And then think of me with this picture down below playing Red Rover, send Johnny over. Johnny is, to me, I'm saying to you, is an employee or self-employed person. And does Johnny have enough guts to go over to the right side of the quadrant, the business owner or the investor? A lot of people, they're trying to reach out and be Johnny, but they don't have a vehicle to help them get there. Perhaps maybe they're also like a birthing mom. They're breathing and they're and for some reason it's challenging, right? And it's painful, and that may be painful, but going from employee to self-employed all the way over to the other side with Johnny to be a business owner and investor does not have to be painful. It could be done in spare time, part-time, or full-time, or eventually full-time. So why dream big? I'll put these dreams up back on the screen as well. Go where the sun spends the winters on the beaches of the world, and whatever your dream is. I love this picture that represents dreams for me. Is seeing the Parthenon in Athens, Greece, and that's my wife and I right there several years ago. Who helps an old lady cross the road? I am not picking on you. If you're an old lady, you could have big dreams too. If you're an old man, you could have big dreams too. If you're a young man, you could have big dreams too. You don't have to wait. But who helps an old lady cross the road? A nice person, a mentor, a coach, a gentleman, a mensch, a distinguished toastmaster, a kind person. And I guess I ask you, why dream big? But who helps an employee or self-employed person cross the road and wake up as a business owner or an investor? Same people, a coach, a mentor, a kind person, entrepreneur, or business owner who was once an employee who they could teach by example. Why does it feel good to help someone? Why does it feel good to exercise after you do it? Why does it feel so good to mentor someone? Why does it feel good to educate someone else? Anybody here interested in volunteerism? I pledged a fraternity when I was in school called Alpha Phi Omega, which is in the 70s. It became co-ed. Before it was all men, but I joined way after the 70s. And the whole point was about community service, and you help somebody else. It takes your problems off of yourself. Who will teach you if I don't? What will happen if you don't listen to anything that I say? Why don't people dream big? I'll tell you right now. Here's the top 4 or 5 reasons why people don't dream big. TikTok, TV, Netflix binge watching, other time zappers. There's only 168 hours a week, 45 years. Are you tired yet? Some of you have been around for more than 45 years. Some of you have not. But those things are a lot of time wasters. If you hadn't figured that out by now, you will. But I know you need time to rest, but how much time do you need to rest? So why dream big? Does sick precede tired for you? I told you that tired, when I said the 6 curse words in the beginning of this talk, is going to actually come next to this other guy named sick. And if you take tired and put it with sick and put it before tired, you have sick and tired. Are you sick and tired of having a boss? Are you sick and tired of not getting a raise? Do you make good money? Are you sick and tired of being broke? Are you sick and tired of your income circle falling short of your dream circle? Do you even have a dream circle? Did you write that circle, or did you just listen to me? Maybe by the 3rd time viewing this, you might decide maybe I should have a dream circle. Why don't more people do this? Here's 5 or 6 reasons why people don't dream big. Fear. What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? There's actually in chapter 15 of Think and Go Rich by Dr. Napoleon Hill talks about, I don't know why it's in chapter 15, because I think maybe he didn't want to scare people off in the first chapter. But that chapter, when you solve that chapter 15 chapter, then you could do everything else in the book, and then success comes easier and faster. So fear has an acronym. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Lack of capital, lack of money, lack of knowledge, lack of education. Where do you get it? Who do you trust? Lack of confidence. Confidence is a huge thing. And to get that, Toastmasters could help you build up your confidence. Here's where I talk to you about fear, and the acronym for fear, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Forget that and just say forget everything and run, which is also the acronym for fear. Forget everything and run. Doesn't have to be false evidence appearing real. A lot of these things are appearing real, and it is false evidence. Here's 4 books I highly recommend that you read. If you don't jive with anything I've said, or there's no vibe here, then maybe you might like these books. Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, How to Be Rich by J. Paul Getty, Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz, Think and Go Rich by Dr. Napoleon Hill. When you're ready to get your dream circle, you'll be ready to dream big. If your income circle is falling short of your dream circle and you want more out of life, you're ready to dream big. Perhaps maybe you want to improve your health. Maybe dream big could help you in that department as well. I always like to give Tony and the Medicare lady the last word. I'll also remind you not to be Bruce. I'll put that back up on the screen here if I can get it there. Okay, there it is. And check out the Medicare lady as well.
It's time for another segment of Mr. and Mrs. Medicare, saving seniors from a high cost of healthcare, debunking Medicare, making Medicare easy to understand for all seniors. All guests of any of the Medicare segments receive the free ebook written by your MedicareLady.com. Here are your hosts, Paul and Sarah Finkelstein.
And to get that free Medicare book, just email me at wow@omgtalk.com and put in the subject line free Medicare book and email me at wow@omgtalk.com. And Tony has the last word for today. He's a real person doing voiceovers, not AI. He's very effective. You just heard a sample of him with the Medicare talk. And here's Tony as well.
You have been listening to the OMG podcast with Paul Finkelstein. We can help you build wealth without hogging your time. Schedule a one-on-one with us. Thanks for listening. Join us again for another OMG podcast segment.